I hold in my hand a first edition Book of Mormon, printed in 1830. This is one of about 700 first editions that are still purported to be in existence, or estimated, I should say. Over 200 million copies have since been printed worldwide, making it the country's second most widely distributed religious text in the United States. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has over 17 million baptized members worldwide. And the Book of Mormon, I would argue, is the most influential piece of new scripture since the Quran. So let's consider this quote. Do not want to go bad through the whole time. The Book of Mormon is the keystone of our religion. Just as the arch crumbles if the keystone is removed, so does all the church stand or fall with the truthfulness of the Book of Mormon. So I hope I've laid out a compelling case with that any study on Mormonism should have the scripture it professes at the epicenter of that study. So, the quote goes on, "The enemies of the church understand this clearly. This is why they go to such great lengths to try to disprove the Book of Mormon." So, I actually disagree with this part here because boy, did I have such a difficult time trying to find any scholarly work from a critical or secular perspective. Like most people want to talk about the Joseph Smith story, the Book of Abraham, or polygamy, which, given the quote, makes the lack of any modern, serious modern scholarly look at the Book of Mormon confusing. So I want to play the role of an apologist, introduce and analyze 3 areas of textual complexity found within the Book of Mormon, and make the case that the Book of Mormon deserves a serious outside scholarly inquiry. So, textual complexity number 1. Stylometry, is also known as Wordprints, is a way of determining the probability of authorship of a particular book or written passage. There are a few methods of doing this, but the gist is that you can assess vocabulary richness, non-contextual word use, and the subtle placement patterns of grammar structures, such as the, a, or, is, and. For example, these methods determined the authorship of the 12 disputed Federalist Papers. Was it James Madison or Alexander Hamilton? It was Madison. Writing in different styles is very difficult. Some authors have deliberately attempted to conceal their writing, such as J.K. Rowling or Joe Klein, but stylometric analysis still outed them. So 5 stylometric tests have been done on the Book of Mormon. The 1980 Larsen study concluded that there are as many as 24 different voices found within the Book of Mormon. The 4 major purported authors of the Book of Mormon have distinct styles, and are all distinct from Joseph Smith. Other hypothesized Book of Mormon authors, such as Oliver Cowdery or Solomon Spaulding, are also not found. The most recent study in 2012 found that only 7% of all the verses in the Book of Mormon are potentially attributable to Cowdery or Joseph Smith, with 93% of all the verses in the Book of Mormon sharing no similarity to any known author. If one person wrote the whole Book of Mormon, he or she possessed an unusual and uncanny ability to write in different styles and to switch back and forth consistently between those styles. These tests have concluded, so far, that the probability of Joseph Smith authoring the Book of Mormon alone is unlikely. It is always possible that an unknown author existed who cannot be tested. Currently, no such candidate has been proposed, as most critics maintain that it was Joseph Smith. It is also possible that he actually could write in multiple different styles, but such a precedent has no known parallel. Textual complexity number 2. The Book of Mormon claims to be an authored text of ancient Hebrew origin. Therefore, if it were translated from a Semitic language, we should expect to find remnants of the original language in that translation. These are called linguistic remnants, loanwords, or Hebraisms. They are typically found in all ancient translated texts, especially in the Bible. Mark 11, "And Jesus went into the temple, and he began to cast out them that sold, and he said unto them," this is typical Hebrew style narration, stacking short sentence structures with the word "and," which, if it were originally in English, would be cleaned up. There are numerous purported examples of Hebraisms found in the Book of Mormon. The one I will be talking about in depth is the Hebrew poetic literary form called chiasmus. So chiasms are literary and rhetorical themes, words, or grammatical structures that are repeated in reverse order. An example of a short chiasm is found in Matthew 10:39. He that findeth his life shall lose it, and he that loseth his life for my sake shall find it. A, B, B, A. You can have as many points as you want as long as each of the points are repeated in reverse order. In the Book of Mormon, there are many purported examples of chiasmus found in the text, such as in Mosiah 5:10 through 12. The most impressive is the massive 15-point chiasm found in the entirety of Alma chapter 36. If you've ever read the Book of Mormon, I bet you missed these. Well, so did everyone else. It wasn't until 1969 that the first ever report of chiasms was made by John W. Welch, a whole 130 years after publication. So, because of the unlikelihood that Joseph Smith was aware of them, many critics assert that all of the Book of Mormon chiasms are unintentional. Chiasms do appear in non-ancient texts with some regularity, as given enough words with repeating themes, you can find some unintentional chiastic structures. To demonstrate this, a 9-point chiasm was found in this computer training manual. Chiastic structures also appear in non-Hebrew Mormon texts, like the Book of Abraham, the Doctrine and Covenants, and even in a letter written by Joseph Smith to Emma in 1838. I even ran a test on my Practicing History conference presentation from last year to see, and there are some potential thematic chiasms, so this does have precedent. So a study on chiasms utilized a mathematical formula to determine the probability of a chiasm's unintentionality. The longer the chiasm, the more words that are included between each theme, and how similar each point is can all be used to assess probability. For example, if you have a 30-point chiasm, but extended over 200 pages, it's likely unintentional. So the math on the various works are as follows. The chiasm in the computer guide is given a score of 66%, the verse in D&C 52%, the Book of Abraham is given a 98% chance of being unintentional. The letter to Emma, 68%. These scores are not proof that they are unintentional, but rather they demonstrate the claim that if they were intentionally written by the author, is statistically indefensible. So the two chiasms I mentioned in the Book of Mormon are scored as follows. Mosiah 5 is given a probability of 2%, and the one in Alma 36 has an incredible score of 0.018%. These scores demonstrate that the author of the Book of Mormon was statistically deliberate in their chiastic usage. To be clear, this does not prove that Joseph did not know about chiasms. Rather, this demonstrates that the author of the Book of Mormon was familiar with Hebrew writing and was proficient enough to use it consistently and in complicated form.
If the Book of Mormon is a modern composition, the presence of an elaborate chiastic structure, such as that found in Alma 36, is nothing short of a literary tour de force. If it is ancient, it is the most impressive example of chiasmus in any known ancient literature.
So, textual complexity number three. So the church claims itself to be a restorationist religion, meaning that it is restoring beliefs and practices that have been lost over time. So therefore, we can conclude that if the Book of Mormon and the church were legitimate, then most of what Mormons do to believe and today was also at one time practiced and believed. So then we might be able to discover these teachings in old texts. So insert the Apocrypha. So the Apocrypha is a collection of scripture that was not included in part of the biblical canon for one reason or another. An example being the Gospel of Thomas, written in 60 AD, but not rediscovered until 1945. Perhaps early Christians had good reason for considering them illegitimate. So they were not included in the Bible. Most apocryphal texts were discovered or first translated in the 20th century, so it may seem unbelievable that the Book of Mormon could share some parallels. Let me introduce you to some possibilities using the story of Adam and Eve as a case study. So in Genesis, the creation story of Adam and Eve takes a very particular order. Adam is created, then he names all the animals, then Eve is created. In the Book of Mormon, the first parents, or Adam and Eve, are both created together, then the animals are named. Eve is elevated to a co-creator status in the Book of Mormon. This exact order also appears in the Sahidic Discourses of Abbaton and the Syriac Book of the Cave of Treasures. The title First Parents does not appear in the Bible. For Mormons, Adam and Eve are an inseparable pair. In multiple Armenian Apocrypha, they are also considered a co-equal pair, contrasting the Bible. So in traditional Christianity, Eve is a despised figure who disobeyed God and brought sin into the world. This motif has been used to justify women's oppression for centuries, such as in these verses in quotes. A Christian apologist might explain that these were for a particular time, people, and context, and not a universal rule, but nonetheless, they have been used to justify oppression throughout history. The Book of Mormon teaches that the fall of Adam and Eve was a good thing, that Eve should be celebrated for her actions, which contrasts with 1,500 years of Christian teachings. In the Armenian penitence of our forefather Adam, Satan berates Eve for her role in the fall, but then her son Seth comes to defend her. "Close your mouth, O Satan, get away from the image of God." Like the Book of Mormon, the text invites us to have a reverence and appreciation for Eve, a reverence that the Bible does not afford her. These are just a few examples of the over 41 apocryphal texts that are purported to have parallels with the Book of Mormon. So, I just want to be clear that the things I have said today are in no way proof that the Book of Mormon is what it purports to be. However, stylography, Hebraisms, and apocryphal themes challenge our secular narrative and invite scholars to take a closer look. I hope that these three areas of textual complexity, of which there are more where that came from, can pique the interest of the academic community. Because for as long as they ignore the Book of Mormon, I think the stronger it appears to be. Thank you.